You used me. You lied to me.
You hit me.
You don't get to use my reaction to your lies as a reason
Yeah,
for your lies.
I do. I knew how much Steve meant to you because I know how much he means to me.
Rumors earlier this year hinted that the Marvel Cinematic Universe might be bringing in another iconic character, Captain Britain. While those rumors didn't pan out, they sparked a lot of curiosity about who Captain Britain is and why his addition to the MCU could be a big deal. Unlike Captain America, Brian Braddock, aka Captain Britain, isn't as well known, but he's a major player in Marvel Comics. His story ties deeply into Marvel's multiverse, and he has connections to popular characters like his sibling from the mutant team X-Force. So, let's dive into why fans are excited about the possibility of Captain Britain joining the MCU. Looking back at Avengers Endgame, it's surprising that the MCU hasn't yet introduced Brian Braddock. The movie wrapped up the original Avengers storyline while setting up future sagas, including the Multiverse Saga. Endgame's time heist gave us a glimpse into alternate timelines, and one subtle tease still stands out. Steve Rogers overheard Peggy Carter mention Braddock needing backup during his visit to 1970s Camp Lehigh. For comic fans, this sounded like a nod to Brian Braddock, and many hoped it was Marvel planting the seeds for his debut. The speculation didn't stop there. Names like Henry Cavill and Riz Ahmed were tossed around as potential picks for Captain Britain, but so far, nothing has come of it. Still, there's hope. The Multiverse Saga isn't set to wrap until Avengers Secret Wars in 2027, leaving plenty of time for Brian Braddock and the Captain Britain Corps to make their entrance. In the comics, the Corps is a multiversal team of Captain Britons protecting their realities and the mystical land of Avalon. This makes the Multiverse Saga the perfect backdrop for their introduction, especially with villains like Doctor Doom potentially looming in the MCU's future. Marvel is clearly leaning into multiverse storytelling. Look at Loki, What If, and projects like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. These are easing audiences into the concept. In fact, What If Season 3 even features Peggy Carter's team going head-to-head with the Watcher with massive multiverse stakes. Similarly, we've already seen the Illuminati in Doctor Strange 2 as multiverse protectors, though they didn't last long. These examples show how Marvel is setting the stage for multiverse teams to play bigger roles. Now imagine the possibilities. If the MCU pits Earth's mightiest heroes and multiversal allies against Doctor Doom in a Void-like setting for a movie like Avengers Doomsday, the Captain Britain Corps could be a powerful addition. Whether it's fighting Doom or aiding in the multiverse chaos, the Corps would fit perfectly into the larger picture. With Marvel continuing to build on its multiverse foundation, bringing in Brian Braddock and his crew feels more like a matter of when, not if. If Marvel decides to dive into Captain Britain's story with a solo project, some might see the name and assume he's just a British version of Captain America. But that's not really the case. While the character was initially created to appeal to Marvel UK readers, his backstory is totally different. Instead of being a tech-enhanced underdog, Brian Braddock gets his powers from the wizard Merlyn and his daughter Roma. His abilities are deeply rooted in British myths and magic, giving him a unique connection to his country's history. Brian's origin story is pretty dramatic. After a motorbike crash during a supervillain attack on the nuclear facility where he works, he's saved by Merlyn and Roma, who grant him his powers. From then on, he becomes a hero dedicated to protecting Britain from evil. Unlike Captain America's iconic moments of punching Hitler, Captain Britain's battles are often tied to his homeland's mystical and historical roots. This kind of lore could be really interesting to explore in a big project like Avengers Doomsday. Over the years, Captain Britain has gone through a lot of changes to stay relevant. When he debuted in the 1960s, he was one kind of hero, but by the 1980s, legendary writer Alan Moore gave him a fresh take. In 2008, Paul Cornell brought his own twist, adding layers to the character. With each update, his powers have shifted to suit the stories of the time. Sure, he's got the usual Marvel package of super strength, speed, and agility, but sometimes he can also fly, shoot energy blasts, and create force fields. One of the coolest things about his latest version is that his powers are tied to his self-confidence and the mood of the British people. When his country is feeling proud and patriotic, he's at his strongest. But when he's full of doubt, his powers weaken. That dynamic could make for some really interesting storytelling, especially in a high-stakes scenario like Avengers Doomsday, where he could shine as a uniquely British hero in a multiverse battle. Another fascinating aspect fans might love about a potential Captain Britain solo project is his background. Unlike many superheroes, Brian Braddock comes from old money, rooted in a long line of British aristocrats. However, by the time Brian was born, the family fortune had mostly run out. This left him feeling out of place. He wasn't wealthy enough to fit in with other rich kids, yet his privileged upbringing and education made him an outsider among the less fortunate. As a result, he grew up lonely, finding solace in studying science. In true superhero fashion, tragedy struck early when his parents died in a lab accident, leaving Brian and his siblings, his twin sister Elizabeth and his brother Jamie, to look after one another. Brian's passion for science blossomed into a successful career. When we first meet him in the comics, he's working at Darkmoor Research Center. His journey into heroism begins when the facility is attacked by a mercenary named Reaver, forcing Brian to flee on his motorcycle to seek help. This pivotal moment could offer the MCU a chance to blend science and magic seamlessly, as Brian's transformation into Captain Britain starts with a crash, literally. After his motorbike accident leaves him near death, Brian encounters two magical figures, Merlyn, the legendary sorcerer of Arthurian fame, and his daughter Roma. They give him a choice to take up the mantle of Captain Britain, empowering him to defeat Reaver and defend the nation from evil. However, this version of Merlyn isn't your typical wise and benevolent wizard. He's often portrayed as deceitful, manipulative, and even dangerous, making him a morally ambiguous figure in Captain Britain's story. This adds an intriguing layer to their dynamic and could be a compelling angle for the MCU to explore. Beyond the mystical side, Brian's powers sometimes blend magic with advanced technology, much like how the MCU explains Norse magic as highly advanced science. In some storylines, the tools Merlyn uses to empower Brian are revealed to be ancient tech that appears magical to those who don't understand it. While the specifics vary depending on the writer, this fusion of science and magic makes Brian a unique character, connecting him to both Britain's historical myths and its modern achievements in science and technology. And of course, no story tied to Arthurian legend would be complete without Excalibur. The iconic sword, which can only be wielded by someone deemed worthy, plays a significant role in Captain Britain's mythos. Interestingly, Brian isn't the only one to wield it. In recent comics, he passes Excalibur to Faiza Hussein, a doctor with the extraordinary ability to disassemble and heal human bodies with her mind. At one point during the Age of Ultron event, Brian even hands over the Captain Britain title to Faiza, preparing for the possibility of his own death. Excalibur's significance extends beyond Brian. It holds meaning for many British heroes. In one memorable tale, the half-vampire Spitfire recounts how Winston Churchill, on his last night as Prime Minister, requested to see the legendary sword as a reward for his service to the country. Moments like these tie Captain Britain's story to Britain's rich cultural tapestry, making him a hero with roots in both history and modernity, a perfect candidate for an MCU solo project. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Your suggestions for future videos are always welcome in the comments below.